Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs that we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video as there is a bonus pair in store. We'll quickly go through my trade for the week first, then progress into the analysis. If there is a pair you do want to skip ahead to, feel free to use the timestamps located below. But I had one trade this week, a long on pound NZD. I do have a longer term bearish bias for this pair, but I was looking to see if I can catch a short term up move so I can sell it later on. Yeah, unfortunately did get stopped out on this one, then price did rally in my favor. I would have looked for re-entries to get back into the position, but it happened whilst I was sleeping. I kind of woke up around here, and this happened during the agent session. So unfortunately just plucked the lows, took me out, and then we had the rally. Again, it's always difficult to completely eradicate this from happening. You can have a wider stop loss, but then you do sabotage it, the risk to reward. The best way is kind of just always looking to re-enter if the trade is still valid, which again, I would have done. But again, the trade was very much already taken off by the time I was at the charts. So yeah, unfortunately missed out on that move there. But again, I'm still looking for the bigger sell. We'll go more into detail about pound NZD as a pair. We'll take a look at later in the video. But yeah, that was the only trade I had this week. Not a lot else happened. I was looking a lot at the USD pairs. Didn't really provide much this week. I'm kind of still looking for potential buys in the dollar. I'm not really interested in shorting the market because we're quite stretched. We've been trending to the downside for quite a while, since the start of the year, I'm pretty sure. Price is just taking out these major lows. We're struggling to really break through them. And the last bearish leg has been very, very corrective, which again is showing signs of lack of momentum. The trend's not very healthy. We could be seeing a bigger pullback at some stage. So that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen with the DXY, a push higher and then some upside, and something like that is what I'm looking to try and trade, because I expect that to be the bigger move, especially when we're quite exhausted to the downside. I expect to see a quite nice impulsive bullish move, and that's the trade I want to take. Right now, the market's quite tired, so I don't want to keep looking to short it. But if I'm going to look for buys, I do need to see price go and break through this supply zone, because this is what's still kind of keeping us bearish. You can see the previous low highs price has been printing. We could easily put another one here and still head lower. That could still be the case, but I'm not really interested in that move. If we can break through support here on an intraday time frame, I think that would confirm to us that, okay, the bears are stepping in and we are heading lower. So I would keep a lookout for that support level. But if we can find support here and can break through the zone, then yeah, I would be looking for a break and retest, something like that, a higher low somewhere for some longs for the dollar. So keep an eye on that move, because I feel like that will be the bigger one. But yeah, if the dollar is still bearish, we should break support here. There might be some nice intraday break and retest opportunities there, like euro or pound, where you can look to take advantage of that. But if we go take a look at Euro USD, it's pretty much the same situation in terms of we could go either way with this one. Current trend still to the upside. We did take out these highs here, but we didn't do it really in confident fashion. The market is running out a bit of steam. Yes, we are still holding on to support here, and very much could still see some more upside. But again, the market is running out of steam, looking very fatigued in this corrective way. When we are moving corrective like this, I'm always looking for price to break lower. And I'm very rarely trying to continue that trend. So yes, at the moment, structure's still holding. We've still got this trend line intact. The resistance here, turn support is doing a good job. You know, we could potentially double bottom there and see a nice rally. So I can understand the buys still very much on, but because I do expect the bigger trade to be to the downside, I'm kind of waiting to see if we can go and break through structure, break the trend line, take out these lows. Then I'll be looking for some shorts, a lower high, perhaps a retest of that area, and then looking for some downside, maybe back into a zone like this. But it depends on how we look and how much momentum we're seeing, but potentially that could be a target for the trade. So I can see price going both ways. It just depends how we react with this zone. If we do hold, buys look good. If we go and break through, sells look good. Personally, I'm just going to focus with the sells. I'm not really going to entertain the buys. So I'm just going to wait to see if that can happen next week, because I would expect that to be the bigger move. But again, I would also consider the buys if you're a bit more intraday. If you can get a swing back to the high, I think that would be a nice trade, just to grab a nice swing potentially for the week and call it a day there. But that's very much the plan for next week for Euro, keeping a close eye or 1.147, depending on where we break or hold. That will dictate the bias and the plan for the rest of the week. But that's the plan going into next week for Euro. Okay, so next up we've got dollar yen. So with this one, I am looking for price to break high. Yen is looking quite weak at the moment, and it looks like yen pairs potentially could be looking to push higher. So I do have a feeling that dollar yen is going to break out. I know we're seeing some signs of the breakout at the moment, but nothing really confirmed. You can see the previous breakout. We just about closed above, but then we came back below straight away. So you need to see a much more confident break than that. Price clear the level with some distance, maybe multiple candles as well, just to really confirm that that breakout is the real deal and we're likely to continue. So if we can see that happen on Monday, Tuesday, then we can be looking for some pullbacks to retest the zone. I think that'd be a great place for some entries, previous resistance now turned support, and I would expect a very strong likelihood of price to make a move back to that high. So dollar yen, I would be bullish for next week, looking for the break and retest opportunity of 146 pretty much on the dot, and looking to see if we can take it back into 148.6, 148.5 back into the next swing high. I would also consider the shorts as well. I'm not really looking to try and play within the range. I'm more concerned with the breakouts. That's what I've been discussing for the past few weeks now with dollar yen. But if we were to reject this, come back down, close bearish, something similar to what happened over there, I still think that's a nice place to short the market and potentially look for a swing back to the low end of the range. So again, it really depends what price does with the zone. If we do respect it, sells look good. If we do break through, buys look very, very good with this one. I would expect some momentum as well. But yeah, targets back to 148.5/6 and targets back down to 142.5 if we do get the shorts. But it really does depend what we do at this level and how price reacts with it. At the moment, it looks like the breakout's happening. Yen looks pretty weak, so that's what I would favor. But of course, stay on your toes. Anything can happen in the markets. But that very much is the plan going into next week for dollar yen. Okay, so up next we've got dollar CAD. So USD CAD, I actually have two biases for this pair. It just depends where price is trading really, because number one, we do have a nice bearish trend, which I wouldn't mind looking to continue. So if price does push back into areas of supply like these, I would be looking for some shorts. At the same time, prices come back from a very strong area of demand. You can see if you look to the left here, nice kind of double bottom, price ripped to the upside. I mean, a massive, massive move there. So if price was to come back, double bottom, I would be looking for buys in this area. We have been quite corrective on the way down, so I would expect to see a bounce. We've already had that strong indication this week, so I've been looking for price to come back and retest it, but we've been a bit too bullish. So if we can come back down next week, I think this would be a smart place for a buy, double bottom, see a reaction to the upside. If we don't get that push down and price stays bullish and rallies and comes back into these zones, well, these do look good for selling opportunities as well, because I'm not necessarily expecting a reversal from here. I'm just expecting a pullback, and at the moment the market is making that pullback. So if we don't come back and test that zone for buying opportunities, well, when we do come back into these zones, these do become pretty attractive to look for shorts. It just depends how price reacts with each one of them, and that would dictate if I find some entries and get involved. But dollar CAD is still pretty bearish. As long as we don't take out this high, this is the major high which gave us this bearish leg. So technically speaking, price can pull back as deep as into this zone as price wants to before it does continue. So my interest with dollar CAD is very much if we do push down, looking for longs. If we just continue to push to the upside and test this zone at 1.38 or 1.39, then I'll be looking for selling opportunities. But it's really up to which way price moves, and that will dictate whether I'm starting to look for buys or starting to look for selling opportunities. Both look really good to me. So again, just playing both sides of the market, but just being cautious of where we're trading and where we're entering. So keep an eye on 1.355 for some longs, 1.38 for some shorts, and 1.39 for some shorts. We're in the middle of nowhere right now, so I wouldn't do anything, but those would be my areas of interest. So keep an eye out for that next week for dollar CAD. Okay, so next up we've got Euro Pound. So I am bullish on this one, but a very nice break to the upside the past few days. And we've left behind a very nice level of resistance will be turned support. A nice inverse head and shoulder pattern as well. Left head, right shoulder, and a break of the neckline, which is the same level. So essentially looking for the retest of that area for some buying opportunities. If I do expand to the daily chart, you can see we do have some bullish structure on our hands here. Low, high, higher low, higher high. Again, another higher low there as well. So there is evidence that buyers are holding firm and we are kind of stepping higher. Definitely after this double bottom back over here, and then the price starts to push higher, and we're still seeing evidence of bullish momentum in the market. So it tells me that buyers in a whole are in control of the market right now. I would be expecting some retracement. Again, potentially there might be opportunities to short the retracement. I'm not really seeing crystal clear opportunities. Price is not really coming into a significant level or any significant confluences, so I wouldn't really be looking to short it myself. But if we can see some downside, that'd be great. I think the longs here look really good. There's a lot of confluence stacked to the upside, and I would expect to see at least a bounce. Now, I'm not expecting euro pound to fly all the way back to the highs here. It's a very corrective pair. I'll keep it short and sweet. Let's say if we do pull back from the high here, then naturally I think a target back to the same high would make a lot of sense, and just calling it a day there, especially if you can get like a 1 to 3, 1 to 2, that would be a great trade in itself. But in terms of the area of interest, 0.846 is definitely it, so keeping a close eye on that level. Yeah, just waiting for a retracement and buys back into the previous high. But that there is the plan there for euro pound. Okay, so next up we've got Aussie dollar. So very, very corrective in nature, as we've been talking about for a while. It looks like maybe price is going to break to the downside. Again, not really confirmed. I know we're just about closing below, but we did close below here and we reverted back inside the range. So until I see price really push away, I won't be too excited about the breakout, but I'm expecting price to break lower. We've been very, very corrective in this ascending channel. And again, when I'm seeing ascending structures like this, I'm always expecting price to break lower. It won't happen every time, but majority of the time price does break lower. I've been looking for one more push back to the up end of the range just because there's been a lot of noise here. Prices hasn't been very consistent. So I've been looking for a push to the up end of the range, some shorts around the high, and then taking it to the downside. But at this point in time, I'm not too sure if that will happen. I mean, I would still consider it because, like I said, this could still be a fake out. Price could still rally to the upside. There will be a lot of stop losses above here as well. So we could look to go and take them out before we do have the drop. So definitely still an area I would still consider to short. I'm not going to completely rule it out. It's looking unlikely that we do get there, but you never know. We might still see a push up there. So still keep an eye around 0.66 for some shorts. But if this is the breakout and price does mean business, then again, waiting for price to really push away for a bit more conviction, a bit more distance. And then, yeah, we can be looking for some break and retest opportunities. Short it back into some of these lows. We'll be looking for a push back into 0.625. That was an area of interest quite a while ago for some buyers, and it still is. It's just that I haven't really been speaking much about it because we've been just ascending for ages. But it looks like we're finally getting the breakout. Again, all I'm looking for Aussie dollar is a pullback of this bullish swing here. So coming back into 0.5, I still think is a very nice place for a buy. So keeping a close eye on this area. I don't think we'll hit there next week. It'll probably be a couple of weeks before we get there. So the opportunity to really focus on for next week is probably the breakout opportunity of this ascending channel. So some break and retest opportunities, probably a swing back into the low there. So keep a close eye on Aussie dollar shorts. I do expect momentum to really come into the market. Yeah, just waiting for a clean break, a retest, and some shorting opportunities. Okay, so up next we've got New Zealand CAD, which is still very much stuck in this consolidation. I was expecting a breakout this week to the downside, but you can see how many wicks we're getting here. It's very, very clear resistance to us that New Zealand CAD has attempted to go higher, but has pretty much failed every single time. And especially with the last week's candle, nice wick to the upside, strong close. I was expecting us to rally, but I do think the rallies, expecting us to fall. But I do think the fall is still very much a likely move for the market. You can see with this candle as well, big wick to the upside, pulled all the way back down. So with these aggressive wicks continuously spiking higher, the likelihood of us coming lower is pretty high now. So with New Zealand CAD, again, because we're still within the range, there very much could still be a bounce here and a buying opportunity. As I've said, I'm not really keen to be trading within the range, so I'm still looking for price to trade outside of it, give us that breakout, and I would think break and retest opportunities will look really, really good. You've got the higher time frame confidence from the weekly chart, all that rejection. You would expect to see some selling pressure kick in and momentum break lower. So if you can see a clean break of this support level, I would expect the floodgates to open and some really decent momentum, maybe similar to this on the way up. That on the way down would be nice. And yeah, we've got some key lows to look at. This low here, massive rally to the upside. This low here as well, big rally to the upside there too. So 0.806, 0.802 would be some targets I would look at for the shorts to bank some profits or manage the trade, whether you're trading stops or however you see fit. But yeah, New Zealand CAD, I do think we are likely to break lower. The break of this support level would be the catalyst for that. So that's the main focus. And then we can find some shorting opportunities off the back of that. Like I said, there might still be some buying opportunities. Price might want to bounce one more time before the breakout. We don't have to see the breakout right now. It could be later in the week, could be the week after. So there could be some buying opportunities. I'm not so concerned about them because I expect the shorts to be the bigger move. So waiting for the breakout, retest, and shorts. And we've got some targets to look at there as well. So that's the plan next week for New Zealand CAD. Okay, so up next we've got pound NZD. So with this one, as I said, I'm long-term bearish with pound NZD. I was just looking for some short-term buys this week. Again, the trend's been flying to the upside. Overall, the market is still bullish, but I do think we are quite overstretched and still likely to see some downside. I'm still looking at somewhat of a head and shoulder pattern as well. You got the left, you got the head, you got the right shoulder there. There's kind of being a neckline for the pattern. So kind of like this sort of situation, and that being a neckline. So I'm looking for that to break at some point. And I think when that does break, that's when we'll properly see the bearish trend start to form and start to get that bigger retracement for pound NZD. But in terms of shorting the market, there's two areas I'm looking at. I would really prefer price to push up here to 2.27 because that's where I would feel safest in terms of having a stop loss. And of course, maximizing my profits as well. If I can enter a lot higher up, I'm well positioned, means I can probably stomach some bigger pullbacks as well and just probably have a greater return on the trade if I can short higher up as well. So that's really where I'm looking to see if I can get involved with pound NZD, a push back to that high, solid resistance twice, and if we can do it again, that would be brilliant, and shorts back into the same level, into the low. But there is some structure here, which price is doing a pretty good job at holding. Resistance there, it looks like it's starting to act as resistance again. In fact, if I take it across, you can see it has been acting as support a lot as well. So it is a pretty significant level. Again, when I was looking to take the buys, this was the level I was looking to bank most of my profit at. Now it looks like price is starting to react. This could be the level that does send us back down again. Price doesn't have to break to that level. Like I said, that will be the preferred area because of the stop loss placement. But if you can see some suitable rejection here, I think this is also a nice place for a short. And again, similar targets back into the low. It just depends what the market wants to do next week. Maybe we reject this level, maybe we don't. I'll keep an eye to see how we develop. If things look good, I probably will give it a stab. If I'm not seeing the rejection I'm after, I will wait for that level up there, 2.275. And same targets for both trades back to 2.218. So yeah, that's the plan next week for pound NZD. Okay, so up next we've got CAD Yen. So I'm looking for CAD to continue to the upside. Again, I'm pretty bullish on the yen pairs. Looks like yen still has some weakness to it. We're very, very corrective, so I have to admit it's not my favorite yen pair. But the reason why I think there's opportunity here is because we've been consolidating for quite a while. And typically, the longer the consolidation, the bigger the breakout. And if we are going to break out, I would expect to see a lot of momentum. We've got some highs to target over here. Got some highs over here as well. So there are some targets. There's some areas we could look to trade towards. And if this breakout does mean business and price is going to really break out that consolidation, I do think there's a very good likelihood that we can come back and test some of those areas. So I do think there is upside opportunity with CAD Yen, a big breakout opportunity. Yen looks pretty weak. If we can pick up the pace, then I think there could be some nice buys here. You can see how consistent we've been with these higher lows. If we can see a solid break of this resistance, so basically price picks up momentum, solid push to the upside, I think if we can come back down, find the next higher low, perhaps retest, structure, this would be a very nice place for a buy. You've got the next target, which is the swing high there. And if we really do mean business, we've got the swing high all the way up there, around 110, 250, 110, 500. Which again, if we are going to see the real breakout, I think we have a good chance of getting to. But as for next week, a push to 108, 250, I think makes the most sense. So yeah, CAD, I think there's upside on the table here. Just need to wait for a solid breakout. We had a breakout earlier this week, but you can see it didn't really amount to much. That's because we really lacked momentum. So I need to see a big break with momentum, with some distance, clear the level with some distance to really show us that, okay, this is the likely breakout. And we've got a good chance of seeing a continuation of that. So waiting for a break and a pullback, a retest of 106.3, next target 108.250, and that will be the plan next week for CAD yen. Okay, so up next we've got pound USD. So I am looking to sell this one, but it's not quite ready yet. You can see on the daily chart, again, we've been trending to the upside for quite a while. We've taken out some major highs to our left. We are starting to become quite corrective as well, which is a sign, okay, maybe the buyers are running out of steam. Perhaps we could see a pullback, go find some more buyers before we do continue. And in the meantime, there probably will be some nice selling opportunities, counter trend opportunities to take it lower. And that's really what I'm looking at. There's a solid level of resistance and support in this area, which is still keeping price bullish. So before I do look to short the market, I do need to see a strong break of this zone. And then I'll be looking for shorts, preferably on a retest of that area and a push back into the prior low. You can see how corrective we were to the upside here, really lacking momentum, especially once we break major highs. You don't really want to see price become corrective. So yeah, pound USD losing momentum. Price could still very much bounce and use this as support and continue higher. Like I said, I'm not really interested. Kind of similar to my analysis with Euro. Yes, we're still bullish. Yes, we could still react with the zone and still continue higher, but I would expect to see a much bigger move to the downside. I would expect to see a much more powerful move to the downside, much more impulsive move to the downside, because that's where I would expect there to be opportunity before we do potentially continue the trend later on. So I'm not really interested in the buys right now with pound, but if you can see a strong break of support, come back to retest it around 1.343. I think this would be a great place to short the market. And we've got some nice targets back at the low here around 1.316. So that's very much the plan next week for pound USD. Okay, so next up we've got pound CAD. So I haven't really been a big fan of pound CAD. The price action is quite messy. I have drawn up a very key level of support which price reacted from this week. We're still pretty consistent with the lower highs. So I still do have a bearish bias for pound CAD. You can see a lot of rejection on the weekly chart with those wicks. It does look like price is running out of steam, and perhaps a retest of support down at around 1.8 or just above 1.8, 1.81 is a likely move for us to pull back, maybe go find some more buys if the trend is going to continue. We've been pretty consistent with these lower highs, so looking for shorts in these areas with that trendline confluence, I think is a smart move. I think a break of this support would actually look very, very good for some shorting opportunities, because this has held price on numerous occasions now. So if we can break through this, I think the odds of price moving back to support here would be pretty high. So if we could see a strong break of that and hopefully a retest, I think that would be a great place to bank some shorts and look to try and take advantage of the move back into these lows. Shorts up here look good, but we're kind of within this range, and it is very, very messy and very choppy. So I'm not so keen about trying to find opportunities here. I do like the trend line, yes, but I think this would be the better opportunity, the more high probability one, because you've got the break of that support, which has held price quite a bit, and the break of that should take us back into that low. Of course, could get a fake out, but yeah, that's where the retest comes in, and waiting for quality in the breakouts as well. So if you could see that, I think there's a good opportunity there from 1.836, 835 we'll call it, to around 0.81. So that's really the opportunity I'd focus on next week. Keep an eye on the trend line as well. If you can still respect that, I think that's still a nice short back into the lows, but this is something that would interest me for next week. So pound CAD still bearish, high time frame still running out of steam. I still think that's the bigger move, and expecting a push to 1.81 in the next coming days. So yeah, that's the plan next week for pound CAD. Okay, so next up we've got pound yen. So pound yen is another yen pair, which again, I'm expecting price to break higher. Yen still looks relatively weak to me. We've been very, very consistent with these higher lows, and I'm looking to see if we can break through resistance here. We've had quite a few attempts, and it hasn't quite happened yet, but I do think price is working its way to a break to the upside. I'm looking at the higher time frames. We did just about break structure here, which is kind of what is keeping me bullish here with pound yen. We had a big sell-off here. Price bottomed out, reversed, and just about did pluck the high there. So I do think there's more upside to be had. The fact that the market is very consistent with the high lows as well, again, adds that confluence. And if you do break to the upside, then I would expect to push back to this resistance just below 200, but we can call it 200. A massive psychological level. I think price would be attracted towards that area. So if this resistance can break, I would expect price to eventually squeeze out, break to the upside, hopefully pull back for a retest. That will provide some nice buying opportunities, and then we can take it to 200. So pound yen, I would say the setup is quite simple next week, just waiting for a clear cut break to the upside with some distance, with some momentum, and then hopefully a retest of that same zone. You can see many occasions been acting as resistance. Hopefully now it could be turned into support, find the next higher low, and swings back to 200 would be the plan. So yeah, pound yen just waiting on the breakout. Not really interested to trade within this range here. Just waiting for that momentum to come back into the market, pullbacks, and then some buying opportunities. And a push to 200 looks the best. So that will be the plan next week for pound yen. Okay, so next up we've got gold. So gold, I am still waiting for some buying opportunities. I do think the bigger move is still to the upside. If I expand to the daily chart, you can see quite clearly we still do have a very strong bullish trend at play. So naturally, buying is what I'd be looking to do. We've got the all-time highs over here at 3,500 roughly. And we had this descending channel for a while. Price did break out of that. We had a nice retest of that. And since then, you can see we've been very consistent with these higher highs and higher lows. So the plan basically is, can we find the next higher low to take it back into the highs and back into the all-time highs? We did see momentum come towards the end of the week there, but we are still within this bearish descending channel. So I'm still looking for a strong close outside of this, and that would be the confirmation to go long. Targets back at the high here, and then of course, if you want to push a bit further back to the all-time high. But as long as we can respect this trend line, respect this kind of area of demand, this is what keeps me bullish. If the market was to break the trend line, especially break through the low there, that would not necessarily make me bearish, but I wouldn't be looking to buy the market because I don't have a clear setup to go long. Maybe we just have a bigger pullback and then eventually go long later on, but I'll need to see another setup formalize. At the moment, this is the only thing that I'm looking at, which looks good to me, kind of looking at the consistency of this bullish structure. So if we can see a strong shift outside of this descending channel, that would be the confirmation to get long. Targets back at 34.45 and then 3,500 basically. So yeah, just waiting for momentum to come into the market. Longs in this area look really good. Let's not break through the trend line. Like I said, if we do, I will back away. But if we can maintain that, see a strong close above, that would be a nice signal. And yeah, expecting gold to continue to rally. So still very bullish on gold, and that will be the plan going to next week. Okay, so up next we've got Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a bit flat these days, lacking momentum. I did say we might turn into a bit of a range, and looks like that's kind of what price is doing. I still think the support down here at 102, 101 looks really good. But it is worrying signs that we have just about taken out the all-time highs and now starting to consolidate. So I think it is soon becoming 50-50 which way Bitcoin does go. I could very much see price break to the upside, give us another strong break, and we'll be on our way. I could see price breaking to the downside strongly as well, and having a bit of a sell-off and maybe forming a bit of a double top here. So I can see price doing both scenarios. I think the best way to trade BTC at the moment is probably just short-term opportunities. Very strong support here, strong reaction there, strong reaction there. I would suggest looking for buying opportunities at the same zone and just keeping it short and sweet. There is a descending trend line here with these lower highs. I wouldn't try and look to catch the full swing, just because there's a chance price might rally in your favor, form a lower high and come right back down again. So I have drawn a fib here and kind of just lining up this 50 area. I think this would be a smart zone to target, because you can be quite confident that we are going to push 50% of the range, whether we push the whole range back to the trend line, a little bit less. So I would expect us to make a move there, but if you can secure profits here, maybe remove risk, I think that would be a smart move to make. So looking for another rejection of 101k and then some buys back into roughly 106k where we've got the high there. I think that is a healthy range to target. We could go further, maybe even push back to the high, so you can leave positions to run just in case. But in terms of kind of being confident and a likely move to catch, a push back to this kind of median, I would say would make a lot of sense. So yeah, BTC, as long as we stay with this range, I think buys off the support level makes the most sense. Just keeping it short and sweet, not really trying to catch a bigger move here, because I wouldn't say the bigger move is quite clear. So until we get some clarity, until we start to see some big breakouts, I think just playing off the lows of the range make a lot of sense. So keep an eye on 101k and targets back to 106, 700 make the most sense for next week. So yeah, keep an eye on that for BTC. Okay, so last but not least, we've got our bonus pair, which for this week is NAS. I do like this one because I'm still very bullish on NAS. We've got the all-time highs just above our heads, and I think price is very likely to go and test it very soon. At the moment, we do have a bit of a consolidation. Price is showing signs of momentum starting to decline a little bit, so I do think a push lower is on the cards. You can see we've had a very healthy up move, a lot of momentum previously, and since the high formed here, we've been quite corrective. So I do think a push to the downside is likely. Go collect some more buyers, maybe shake out some early buyers, and then potentially we might be able to see a rally. You can see we do have some equal lows here, very strong support once, twice, and the third time, basically keeping us in this sideways range. If we can break lower, take out these lows, there will be a lot of stops there as well. This is our previous higher low, which gave us this drive to the upside for the higher high. So this is a very nice area of demand, which did give us a last bullish leg. So if price can push down, retest that area, I think that would be a smart place to be looking for some buying opportunities, at least for a reaction. I'm not guaranteeing that we do see a swing back to the high. I do expect that to be the bigger move, but maybe price wants to have a deeper correction, which is yet to be seen yet. But this is still a very smart place for a buy. I like it because this is where momentum came from, and this is where a lot of stop losses will be. So we can kind of be away from all the noise, which is all of this here being, where people are getting caught up, buying and selling, away from the noise, run through some equal lows, very strong support, buying in some fresh areas of demand where we're likely to see a reaction anyway, and perhaps catch a nice move to the upside. I would say keep an eye on this trend line here. Maybe a lower high does form and we push back down. But again, if you can capitalize on a move like that, I would say that's still very much worthwhile to look to trade and look to try and take advantage of it as well. And then you can always leave positions run. Maybe we do go and push into the all-time high from then onwards. But still very bullish as a whole on NAS. So using that to our advantage, kind of just sticking with the buys until we do go and sweep the highs at 22,200. Nice fresh zone below us, kind of staying away from all that noise. So definitely do keep an eye on that zone, but also watch out for the trend line. The market is still pretty consistent with lower highs, and we could still form another one, so be careful with that. But yeah, 21,200, that's the zone I'll keep an eye on. And yeah, looking for a swing back to the highs. And that, guys, does bring us to the end of the analysis. If you have very much found it useful, informative, please be sure to drop a like. It does really help out the stream, help out the channel. Drop a comment down below any pairs you're looking to trade for next week. I'm interested to find out. That's roughly my watch list, but I'll go into a bit more detail on the streams next week. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, if you're enjoying the content, and of course hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But guys, I really do appreciate you tuning in to another analysis. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you all in the new week.